Hey, Sam, welcome. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just go ahead and get right into it. I would love if you could just start by just telling us your story, how you got into real estate, how you landed where you are, and kind of give us your journey.
Yeah. I am going into my 20th year in the business, which is great. It's been such a wild ride. I actually started before that. I've been licensed 20 years. Before that, I was a receptionist at front desk and I answered phones.
Wow.
Then I became an assistant to an agent and worked with her for a bit. And I was, I'd left university. I was in college. I was kind of flailing around a little bit. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. And at the time, I had a friend of mine, and he was working for a company. And the wife of the man who owned the company was a real estate agent. And he said, "You should talk to her. Like, she's great. She's successful, and she's down to earth, and she's funny. And I think, you're kind of like her." And so I had coffee with her, and she was like, "Oh, just go do it. Just go get your license. You'll figure it out." And the business was so different then, Christine. This is like 20 years ago, before social media, before electronic signatures, before video, before podcasts. And so it took me some time to really kind of get going because I was really young and, people didn't necessarily trust who I was, my age, and my friends weren't buying and they weren't even renting properties. They were still in school. So it took me a bit, but I managed to get myself going. I sold real estate for 8 years. In my last year on the sales side, I had a buyer's agent and an assistant, and a business partner and an assistant, and we did 50 transactions. So we were quite busy. And then I've always had like a passion for teaching and learning, and I sort of lost my zest a little bit on the sales side. As I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, like I think being a real estate agent is a very difficult job. It's taxing. It's a lot of work. It's highly competitive. The agents that are good are really good. And you really have to know your value, and you have to, be able to articulate it. And you've got to be able to, manage your cash flow. And there's a lot that goes into it, which I won't get into in my little intro here. But, when I kind of was like, I don't know what I want to do, I approached my broker and I was like, I think I'm going to quit. He was like, "What? What do you mean you're going to quit?" I'm like, "I just don't do this anymore." And he said, "Well, what would you do?" And I said, "Well, I think I would probably like teach the new agents." And he said, "Okay, well, I'll hire you to make a program." So I did. And that was 13 years ago now. I've been leading the team here at Royal LePage Signature. We're the largest independently owned Royal LePage office in Canada. Here we're in Toronto in the GTA. We've got 1,600 agents. And so my job is to help them build predictable, repeatable, growing businesses.
That is awesome. So you've been in that space longer than you were an agent. And do you find it rewarding?
It is very rewarding. It's very rewarding. I know for a fact that being a realtor is such a lonely business. And so I feel like I really get the opportunity to spend time with the sales team and sort of be that, place that they can come to when they have the not nice thoughts and the, everyone's doing better than me thoughts, and the like, I've been working really hard and nothing's happening thoughts. And, I feel like I'm sort of that spot for people to come to, which is great. So I do know I'm making a difference, and it is highly rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was coaching for the local brokerage here in the Boston market, I felt the same way, especially when you would see the growth of an agent, or, if they were, right, if they were going through, if they, sort of a slow time, and you just give them a little bit of encouragement or inspire them with a new idea, and then they would grow. And it was like, it was watching a flower bloom, like watching a flower bloom, right? It's like, oh my God, I actually had an impact. It's so rewarding. Yeah.
I did it. Yeah. I love when they come in and they're like, "I listened to you. I did X, Y, and Z, and I had my best year ever this year."
Oh,
and I hear that a lot. So it's nice.
That is awesome. So it sounds like you're in the right space. So let's actually go back to what you said, which one of the things you said was like you started before there was video and social media and podcasting and electronic signatures and all that stuff. So we have all these great tools now to drive our business, for better or worse, right? So talk to me about how you instill that in your agents at Royal LePage. Like, how do you take all of this marketing mix that we have available to us now and help them to implement it? Because it can be overwhelming, all of it.
It can be overwhelming for sure. So I have a couple, principles or models that I teach my team here. So the first thing that we talk about is that there are three kind of buckets for you to generate new business. There's repeat and referral. And a lot of people bucket those together and say, oh, all my business is repeat and referral. And I say, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, what number? Like, if you did 10 deals, how many were repeat versus how many were referral? Because those are different characteristics. And then the third bucket is new business. And new business is people you don't know that you are marketing to. Open houses, farming, online leads, typically ways that are expensive and take time. And you can't ignore that piece of the puzzle because your database over time naturally shrinks. It gets smaller. People move away. They, sell a house and rent. They pass away. They become realtors. They work with another realtor. Over time, your group of people you're marketing to will naturally shrink. And so I start by having the conversation with people to say, okay, if these are the repeat, referral, and new buckets, where are you focused on those buckets? And we work through exercises to kind of understand what that looks like. I like to assess their business and really understand if you did 15 deals last year, how many came from each of those buckets. And based on those numbers, Christine, I can really then analyze what's going on in their business. So if they say to me, I did 15 deals and, 11 were repeat and 4 were referral, I know that they have a loyal database, but they don't have advocacy. They don't have like raving fans, because the objective of getting a referral is that someone gives your name out to someone they know and they have the trust you're not going to make a mistake and flub that whole thing up. They don't want to have to go to Christmas dinner and listen to Aunt Karen complaining the realtor you suggested did a bad job, right? So we kind of go through that exercise for me to understand what they're doing. And then from there, we craft a plan for them. And, if you're on my team listening, you're like, they're probably turning the podcast off now because they're like, oh, I know what she's going to say. From there, I help them create a database system. And the database system is called the connectivity plan. And it's basically the principle, going back to your original question about tools, it's the principle that you can take all of these tools and use them to your advantage. But tools on their own are kind of clunky because consumers and people on your database are going to consume their content differently, right? So you may have someone on your list who checks the mail every day and they like getting a newsletter or a handwritten note. You may have someone like me who I got a thing from the postman yesterday that said, empty your mailbox or we're not delivering your mail anymore. And I was like, oh, whoops. So I had to go empty like a month of mail out of my mailbox. You have other people that will really want to watch videos, and you have some people that don't use social media. So the idea behind a connectivity plan is that all of these tools are really like a cake mix, and you have to put them all in the cake mix to figure out the right recipe for you and the clients that you work with. And, once you get good at your connectivity plan, you'll start to realize who on your list consumes their content. So I'll know that Christine likes video. And if I sent her a BombBomb video, she's going to watch it. And then I also will find out that, Mary and Bob don't watch videos because they're worried that maybe it's spam or there's a problem and they never open them. So I have to communicate with them differently. So my connectivity plan takes all of these tools, and I say to my team, you pick one thing every month, one thing, one initiative. So let's say, for example, you are going to do a market update for everybody on your list. Well, you can do that on video on BombBomb. You can send that by email. You can print it out and mail it. You can follow up with a phone call to people to say, hey, did you get it? Do you have questions? You can send just a regular blanket email saying, keep your eye on your inbox for the market update I'm going to send you. But I teach my team, like, the connectivity plan is one initiative every month, delivered a minimum 3 ways. And at first people say to me, wow, that's a lot. Like, I'm going to bother people. They're like, I'm going to be, but really in today's day and age, thanks to, our cell phones and social media and a million different ways that you can connect with people, human beings are bombarded, and trying to cut through the noise and capture someone's attention is not easy. And so the tools, I teach people how to leverage them, but to remind people that there isn't just one tool that's going to like make your business. Like, a lot of people say like, well, I use social media. That's the way I get my clients. Well, let's unpack that. I mean, you're using social media to be visible to people that you already know. And I'm sure if I look at your numbers and I assess where your business is coming from, it's not 100% social media. So that's sort of my philosophy on the tools. People need to use them. Realtors need to use them, but there isn't a one size fits all approach, tool wise or agent wise. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's brilliant, because essentially you're saying, you don't have to produce 10 pieces of content every week. Produce one piece of content a week. In your case, you're saying a month, which I think is very digestible when you're, sort of thinking about the execution of this, because as you know, agents are solopreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like the chief cook and bottle washer. And so we've got to make it digestible for them. And then once they can sort of get the rhythm or the momentum going, then maybe they can take on more. So I love the idea of taking one piece of content per month and repurposing it in different ways. So just to clarify though, are you saying that I would take a market report, for example, just take the data, and one week, maybe I would do a video on it. The next week I would do an email and send the video in email. Maybe the third week I would write a blog.
Not entirely. So keep in mind that this system is really meant for database, right? This is your repeat referral business.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be a piece of content. Your initiative or your one thing could be that you're going to do an event. Let's say you're going to do a first-time buyer event, or you're going to do a how to invest in real estate, or why you should buy pre-construction, an educational seminar. That's your thing, your one thing. When I say you have to deliver it in 3 different ways, when you're going to tell people about that, you're going to put an email together that says, hey, I'm hosting this event and here are the details. And then you're going to call people because some people didn't see your email. And you're going to say, hey, I sent you an email. Don't know if you got it. I'm hosting this great event. And then you're going to host the event itself. And then you're going to follow up with people that came to the event and you're going to talk to them. You might put it on your social media. Hey, I'm hosting this, first time buyer event for you to join and learn all about buying real estate in Toronto. So it doesn't have to be a piece of content necessarily. It's one initiative. It's one thing, for lack of a better word, but it could be a charity food drive. It could be a client appreciation event. It could be a market update. It could be a CMA for their specific property. It could be complimentary home show tickets. It could be the trades and services guide. It could be a pop by for Easter. Like, it can be really anything. And I teach the agents, Christine, if you were a realtor with me, I would say, well, what do you like? What are you into? What are your clients going to enjoy? And we craft a plan specifically for you. Our plans would likely be different. I don't necessarily have an interest in the same kinds of things that maybe you do. And so how I communicate with my clients might be a little bit different. That lives under the repeat and referral umbrella. When we then talk about sort of content production, I consider that new business. So I consider that like, you should have a whole strategy for YouTube and how you're going to attract new eyeballs to your page. You should have a strategy for how you're sending out flyers to a farming area, and that's new people. And there's a whole strategy behind that. The connectivity plan really is focused on that database piece.
I love that. And you're totally speaking my language. I mean, I am a huge believer that whatever you do to stay in touch with your sphere of influence has to feel authentic to you. Because if it doesn't feel authentic to you, it's not going to feel authentic to them. So if calling is not your thing, then don't call, pop by or whatever it might be. Like if you're
face to face.
Right? Exactly. It's like, if you're into yoga, great. If you're into bicycling, organize a cycling event, like whatever it might be, a race, a running race, whatever it might be. I love the way you do that. It's got to be in their wheelhouse. It's got to be part of their sort of passion and what they really connect with in order for it to feel authentic on the other side. I love that.
Yes.
And I love how you're saying, so let me just make sure I got it. So let's say I'm going to host a first time buyer seminar in the month of April. I am going to spend basically the full 4 weeks prior to that, just blasting the heck out of it, making calls,
Correct.
letting people, making sure everybody knows when it is, where it is, what's going to happen, how to get there. That's just my sole focus. So I'm not diluting what I'm trying to get done. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Correct. Thank you very much. You're also not thinking about like, I'm doing a first time buyer seminar in April, but I kind of want to pop by in March. I'll say to you, okay, like for March, for Easter, well, Easter this year is at the end of March. So that's fine. But how does that all work together? So part of the connectivity plan is you need to have real estate and business content, but you also have to have like the fun stuff, the Popeyes and the client events and the, Christmas gifts and the personal stuff. They want to buy you as a person. They want to know who you are. So you have to have that in your plan. But I oftentimes find agents try to do too much at once. They want to do so many different things at the same time. And then they come in and they're like, okay, well, I called 10 people about this and I emailed that. And then I'm like, okay, remember, like we want one of my favorite words is momentum. Like we want some momentum to your activities so that, you get feedback and results from it. Because I said in the intro, I really want to help agents build predictable, repeatable, growing businesses, which means your connectivity plan does not need to be different every single year.
Yeah. It's like rinse and repeat. Do it the first
rinse
year,
and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Oh my God. It's so smart.
And people love it because they're like, oh, I missed that event you did last year, but I really want to make it this year. Or they say, I referred you that client and they got that, great thing from you. And then I got it and that made me so happy. And I love that. I love that every year, in the fall, you drop off leaf bags. Thank you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be different all the time. It just needs to be something that you can scale and get better at, because in addition to running a successful connectivity plan, you also have to do deals. So I'm trying to make it, easy to execute on whenever possible so that you can still, grow your actual business by putting transactions together.
So you've been doing this for how many years with 1,600 agents?
We haven't had 1,600 agents for this long, but I've been on the management team for 13 years.
Okay. And so tell me about the adoption. Like, how's the adoption on this? Because I think it's brilliant.
On my connectivity plan. Thank you. I don't have metrics for you. I would say of my group of top agents, I would say probably 60 to 70% of them are using a connectivity plan. Because it really is, like, going back to your question a few minutes ago about tools, like this is foundational. Like if you dropped me in a new city tomorrow and said, build a business, a real estate business, this is what I would do. I would talk to new people. I would network with businesses. I would host events. I would put a connectivity plan together. This is what I would sort of focus on. So this is the basic. These are the fundamentals of any sales-based business. And, I tell my team here, like, we could be insurance brokers. An insurance broker could benefit from a connectivity plan. We could be financial planners. We could be insert any entrepreneur trying to grow a business. I mean, really, at the end of the day, you're talking about how to connect with people, build trust and likability, deepen advocacy, and get more referrals. So my team, most of them have a plan. The constant conversation I have with people is like, Sam, my plan in January was this, and I didn't get it done. And now it's the beginning of March and I feel a little bit, and I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. What's March? What do you have on for March? Well, March, I was going to do Popeyes for Easter. Great. Okay. Where are we? What are we popping by? What's the budget? Who are you going to go see? Is it one thing, 3 different ways, and then off you go, right? The connectivity plan really gives you like that benchmark to come back to.
Yeah.
Because real estate, as you know, I joke, it's like being on a roller coaster. You get the clients and you work with the clients and then you do the deals. And if you've done it right, you get this nice little pocket of money at the bottom. But then when you get to the bottom, you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't have any more people. I got to get back and I got to prospect again. And so the connectivity plan tries to level some of those crazy ups and downs.
Yeah. You want sort of the wake versus,
the
tornado.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The tsunami.
I mean, we're salespeople. We don't want no waves, but we want less big waves.
Right. Exactly. I love that. So what kind of results have you seen? Tell me about the results with your agents.
Yes. Great. So on average, I find that agents typically will do a 10% return on their database, on their names. So if you have 100 people, an average agent will do 10 deals from those 100. When you're using the connectivity plan, you should, what I've noticed in my team is it's somewhere between 15 and 20. So if you have those same 100 names and you're following a well-executed connectivity plan, you should be able to do 15 to 20 deals from 100 names, which in my market in the GTA is really quite robust.
Yeah.
Now, when I have people at the end of the year that come in to see me and they say, I followed my plan, I didn't get 15%, then we go into troubleshooting. So then we go through the exercise of, okay, well, who are these 100? Let me bring your list and let's look at who these names are. And sometimes we realize going through it, they're so-and-so. And I've gone wide with them. They've gotten newsletters. They've gotten market updates. They've gotten a personalized CMA for their home. Maybe I dropped by at Easter, but they weren't there. So I left it on the porch, but I haven't actually gone deep with them. I haven't had a conversation. I haven't had a coffee. I haven't had a lunch. I haven't, gone on their social and seen that their, son left for university. And I called to say, how are you doing? How do you feel?
Yeah.
If you're not getting that return, there are very clear troubleshooting steps that I'll go through with you to figure out why are we not there? Sometimes it's the wrong people on the list. Sometimes it's not communicating deeply enough. Sometimes you just haven't been consistent with your plan. And so you might only get 10% for the first year or two until you really kind of commit to the exercise, and then it starts to pick up. But I've had agents, Christine, that have started with me, 5 years ago, brand new.
Yeah.
That right out of the gate were like, yep, connectivity plan. And now in year 5 are doing 25 deals a year.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I know it works.
That is fantastic. So just to, not to change the subject, but to kind of move to the next piece, I know you were part of a conference lately called BecomingHER. So
yes,
tell me a little bit about that. What was that?
So, I spend a lot of time in my day job. I manage our learning and development program. So I spend a lot of time, hosting conferences, going to events. Here at the brokerage, we'll do about 30 events a year with our agents of varying sizes and scopes. And, a lot of times at the conference, you talk about, business or leadership or entrepreneurship or, some other venture. And at conferences specifically for women, the conversation is sort of usually one angle of being a woman in business. So it's women in leadership or, female entrepreneurs or imposter syndrome. But it's sort of these individual lanes. And I found when I would go to conferences, I would have women approach me, usually in the lunch line or, in the bathroom. And they would say, I really liked hearing what so-and-so had on stage, but I wonder how they do it with 2 little kids. Do you think they have help? Or what do you think they do to make that work? Or, I don't know if that would work for me. This person said they use video, but I put on a little bit of weight because of a baby or menopause or this or that. And I just don't feel comfortable in front of the camera. And it kept kind of coming at me in these varying different ways. And I finally thought to myself, why aren't we having those conversations at conferences? Why aren't we getting together with one another and supporting each other? So I decided I was going to host my own conference which I've never done. I mean, how hard could it be? Turns out really hard.
Yeah.
But I have a great team around me. So we put together a speaker lineup and we called the conference Becoming Her. And we hosted it last week here in Toronto. We had 250 women who attended.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Thank you. Thank
so it
you.
was brand agnostic?
Brand agnostic. And it wasn't even real estate. So the whole idea behind Becoming Her is that we are not just one, we're not just entrepreneurs. We're not just women in leadership. We're not just in business. We're not just moms. We're not just, grandmothers. We're not, we're all these things. And so my conference was really focused on all of these things coming together. So, we had my friend Val Garcia, well-known speaker on the Inman stage and otherwise. And she opened the day and she talked about leading with joy. And she talked about Martha Stewart, and how Martha Stewart has reinvented herself every step of the way. And the women were like on their feet. It was so good. And then I had Tia Slidham, who's a parenting expert, who was wonderful. She talked about why motherhood is so hard, why we compare ourselves to other moms, how social media makes it difficult, why we struggle to connect with our kids sometimes. Our big keynote draw was Joanna Griffiths. She's the CEO of Knix, the underwear bra company, and she was fabulous on stage. She just sold her company last year. Was the largest sale of a female-owned business in Canadian history.
Wow.
She was great. Then we did a fashion show with a stylist who showed us how to style real bodies, let's call them. It wasn't fashion models. It was like real women.
Yeah.
And so that was great. And then we had Lise Wilcox, who's a money expert, but she's a money and worth expert. Why do we not feel worthy if we're not making the money we want to make? What is going on in our minds so we did that. And then I obviously took the stage and did a talk on a couple of different things. And the feedback was unbelievable. Women were like, these are the conversations we want to have. So It was great.
Oh my God. So when are you doing it again?
Well, it was in honor of International Women's Day. So if I do it again, it would be next year.
Oh, that is fantastic. Good for you. Good for you. Do you have a
Maybe
website?
Next time you can come up. We do. Yeah. We have a website, BecomingHERTO.com. We're also on Instagram under Becoming Her, or you can find the site through my page. I am Sam_Hewit with 1T_.
I got it. We are going to make sure both of those things are in the show notes for sure.
Thank you. I hope you'll come, Christine. I hope you'll make it's a short flight from Boston. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump.
It totally is. It's way easier than going to California for sure.
Correct. Way easier.
Way easier. I would love to. And so you keep me in the loop. I'm going to
I will
get on your Instagram and make sure I'm going to watch it. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to make sure I know exactly when it is. I would love to be there.
That would be great.
Yeah. So as we start to finish up, what are the top 3 things you would want our community to know?
I think number one, really kind of being authentic to who you are in business is critical. Mm-hmm. And I think, when you're a realtor, it's hard to not want to be like a talking real estate head and this is what's happened. And it's difficult to do. And I've seen so many success stories with agents on my team. They kind of hit that stride when they were able to really be who they were. They were able to let go and just be themselves and allow that to shine through in their marketing. Number 2, if you're working in a competitive environment, you have to communicate more with people than you think. So, if you think you're sending out a couple things or you're sending out a newsletter and you're posting on social media, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to get you there. This is a relationship trust-based business, and whoever is in front of the consumer is going to win. And so really kind of thinking about how you get a little deeper with people is critical. And the third thing is you need a connectivity plan. You don't have to call it a connectivity plan. You don't have to use mine if you don't want to. I mean, you can whatever you'd like, but you need to definitely have a clear, actionable plan that doesn't live in your brain. It lives on paper. Because the agents that are getting better are really getting better. Mm-hmm. And there is a ton of opportunity for everybody. So if you're like, I don't know if I'm getting better, that's okay. You can get better today. Don't worry about it. But definitely having a plan that's not in your brain, that's on paper that you can refer to, is going to be a key pillar of your success. And I'm happy to share the plan, Christine. If your community would like a copy and I have like a, here are the different options you can pick and here's how you lay it out, I'm happy to share that.
Awesome. Definitely let me know the URL and I'll make sure that's in the show notes for sure.
Wonderful. Will do.
Awesome. All right. Last thing, finish this sentence. Know, like, trust is
imperative to success.
Yes. Yep. Beautiful. Sam, this has just been amazing. Like so many pearls.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. It's been really, really wonderful.
Anytime. It was really nice to connect. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for all of you who are listening, thank you so much for being here. And if you like what you're hearing, make sure to share it with your friends and give us a 5-star review. Give us a review. It really helps. And all for now. We'll see you here next time. Ciao, everyone.